Hey, this is Chris Olkowski, and I'm going to talk about 4 steps to help you to not get anxious and stressed or have negative feelings about world events. It's pretty crazy. There's a lot of things going on, which there has been for all of 2020, and some people have not been able to handle it well. Some people just block it right out. I'm going to give you 4 steps to be able to have a balance in it all, because you don't want to be negligent or you don't want to be naive about anything and caught off guard with something's coming up, but yet they don't want to be overwhelmed either. So this is, we give you 4 steps to help you with that. First of all, world events are important to know about. Okay, now you may think that you're not a news person, you're not a person who likes to get into politics or just information. You're more just like to do things that are more local or whatever, um, and that's fine. But it's always important that I recommend is to know somebody that is into world events or is aware of what's going on, so that you can keep and that you can keep in contact with them and let him know that they should let you know if there's something they should be aware of. A good example is this whole push now for the vaccines, and that they can inform you about um, it's like pros and the cons and what to do about it in terms of what um, what's the information that's been out there. Okay, um, and then you can ask questions. That way, then you'll be available. They can maybe find out for you. And why I say that, for the small amount of people that don't even like to look at the nose at all because it too freaks them out, or it's hard for them to understand, or whatever it is. That's very important. Now, if you can at least get an idea what to look for, sometimes it's just a matter of asking somebody what's important for you to look up. That's another way of gauging what news you should watch or how much news. And sometimes they say, oh, you could maybe look up the vaccines, um, and more recently, maybe to look at the latest on maybe your state in terms of the COVID regulations or whatever, and that would probably be most important things that I can think of at this point. Of course, if something else comes up um, for your state or whatever, then that's something they would think of, would need to inform you of, because it's like anything else. If something changes in your um, insurance, or changes in your community, or your work, you'd want to know that, and you need to know that. And so this will give you somebody that can inform you without you being super involved in trying to find what's important to you, or what's important, and sifting through all the news that can kind of drive you crazy or cause a lot of stress and anxiety just looking at all the different information out there. Um, then the opposite end of it is that some people watch too much, and I kind of probably tend towards that. And lately, I haven't been, only because there's so much information out there that's so up in the air, and you don't even know what to believe anymore. There's contradicting information all over the place, and the more, because there's so much more contradicting information than ever before that I ever remember, that really limits my desire to look at any type of news. I usually kind of skim over the headlines to see if there's anything new, and then I might look at it just to glance over it, and then that's it, because I don't want to get involved in anything that's controversial, because it's controversial right now. Not that I don't mind controversy as much as these days you don't know what's true or not, and that's what's sad. And I've made my own opinions on a lot of different subjects in terms of news and everything already, and so that's why I don't really need to be informed as much about most topics that are going on, because it's usually about a lot of the same things that have been going on for months. So, um, but like I said, sometimes there's something new, and then I look at it. So that's step up number one. Number two, ask the Lord how much you need to know and from who. That kind of goes along with what I said before, is that sometimes we are afraid to know what news, or we don't want to limit ourselves. We just really have to know. Well, the important part here is asking the Lord, because we can be one extreme or the other without really hearing from God what you need to know. Because if you're involved in it too much, it might drive your flesh and cause you to react to certain things and cause anger, frustration, or whatever. Or if you don't know enough, it might cause you to be put in a situation where you have to make a decision fast, and it might cause a lot of anxiety that's not needed, especially if, like I said, with the vaccine thing. It's good to be informed about it, because now that it's starting to maybe roll out and it's starting to, people are gonna have to make a choice. This way, you're at least ahead of the game, and then you can talk to God about it and pray about it ahead of time. So that would be an example. And then I say from who, like I said, you know, have somebody that you trust. A strong Christian would be really good, because that way they can give you an informed information, and that's a Christian perspective, and also somebody that you can trust that's not going to be manipulating the news that is coming out on the airwaves and everything. So the other thing about this is that I'm always a person, and I really believe in this, is I tend towards looking at multiple different news organizations, mostly because of the fact that then I can get a broad perspective of what's all out there, what information's out there. I don't do it, like I said, do it as much anymore, only because there's not much new out there. But that's what I tend towards. And if you are a person that can handle a lot of information, or more than just a little bit, then that's an important part, because then you can get a broad perspective, and then you can ask God, you know, what is going on. You know, this person says this, that person says that, and sometimes He can direct you. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes He says, you know, it's not really important. Then you can know that you asked God, you sought God on it, and He told you to wait on it, because He did the same thing with Paul. You know, He said, Paul asked 3 times, you know, take this from me, and He says, my grace is sufficient. So there's certain things that God will not say anything about it, or He will just give you a peace that, you know, it's not that important. Or He might direct you to something. It's like, oh, I want you to really pay attention to this information, and I'll get into later what to do with it. But that's how kind of be directed by who you're supposed to listen to, not just in terms of getting your information from a friend, or a fellow Christian, but also just the news itself, what news you're going to listen to. Third, identify feelings that emerge. This is really key, because one thing I've been learning as I'm becoming more aware of being hearing from God and stuff, is that God will a lot of times direct us by our feelings. Okay, when we're reading something, and something rises up into us, some either anxiety or frustration or anger, anything like that. You know, not so much depression, but sorrow. Like, if compassion is probably another way, is that ask God, what are you supposed to? Compassion's rising up in me. Like, for instance, let's say, you know, a bunch of people there's a big conflict between two groups of people, and God, you have compassion on the people that got hurt. Well, God might tell you to pray, or He might have you, like, say, you know, God might direct you, say, I want you to minister to one of these people, maybe give them some food or whatever, that, you know, one of the families that got hurt or something, and that could minister to them, and God can use that to bring them to Christ. Okay, so that's just another thing that could just pop up in my mind, that God could utilize in a situation that is from the news. Okay, and prayer is a big one. Praying for situations, and then what God is going to how to pray and what to pray about, and the whole bit that way. And then fourth, ask the Lord what He is telling you through these feelings, and pray. That's what I just said. So identify the feelings, and then ask the Lord what to do with those feelings. So the 4 steps are: world events are important to know about. Just to be aware, they are important, even though you might not think so. And if you do think so, you know that not all information is important. Maybe I should have put that on there. It says world events are important, but not super important. You know, not and seek God is the most important. Okay, so, but not about God. So ask the Lord how much you need to know, and from who. So that's what I said. You know, how much do you want? You know, too much, is not good, and too little is not good. So just trying to find that balance, or from who, and that's as I said before. So that's number two. Identify the feelings, and then four, ask the Lord what He's telling you through these feelings, and then pray. And praying is asking God what's His direction in it, why are these feelings coming up. Sometimes it's from the past. Something scares you because of something that you're afraid because you've been vulnerable in the past and you've been hurt in the past, and now things are getting crazy, and that's why you don't listen to the news because it bothered you. Sometimes God just wants to heal those areas and say, I'm taking care of you. And sometimes you can read scripture, and there's a scripture that says, he upholds us in His righteous right hand, and He protects us, and He's a strong tower, our refuge. Okay, and not just that, the fact that He protects us from harm, but even if there's something that does come to harm us, that He sustains us in it. That's the difference. Is that sometimes you think, well, sometimes bad things happen to people, even Christians. Yes, they do. Back when there was the Colosseum where Christians were fed to the lions. Okay, but God sustained them. There's a scripture that talks about Philip saw heavens open and saw the Lord seated at the right hand of the Father while He's getting stoned. He will do that for you because He is a good God. That's what I'm saying. He's not going to do that for you now. That's why you even needed it now. But in the times you need it, He provides. And that's why it's so important to stay connected with the Lord and keep in prayer and in everything, especially in world events. And just know that, God, please just help me be with you each day, and to know that I have peace no matter what happens to me. And these world events actually should make you realize that things are crazy and bad things do happen, and that it'll help you, draw you to the Lord, and draw you to praying, draw you to depend on Him, and to seek His peace and His rest, and that He comforts you, and you do that on a daily basis, because that's what we need, and that's what we should count on. So when things do come at your front door, literally or just figuratively, things start happening around your neighborhood even, or your city or whatever, that you don't have to be freaked out, because God has protected you and God is going to supply for you. Okay? You don't have to buy lots of toilet paper if God is going to supply. Now, I'm not saying that God isn't telling you to buy toilet paper. I'm just saying that God can direct you. And so don't be worried if all of a sudden the toilet paper is all gone and you have one roll left, because all of a sudden you just got to be, okay, God, I have one roll of toilet paper here and the shelves are empty. What do you want me to do? And God will direct you. And to seek Him. It's not just asking once either. Sometimes it's seeking throughout the day or several days, and then trust Him. Once you seek Him in it, you trust Him. And you're just like, God, I just help me have a peace about this. Help me have a peace, and just keep knowing that as long as you're putting it before the Lord, He will guard your heart and mind. It says that's why when we're anxious and we're having feelings about things, it's meant to draw us to the Lord so He can give us a peace about it and direct us. That's what it's all about. Feelings aren't there to torture us. It's not there so that we have to fight our feelings. Feelings are good because they show us there's something wrong, or God's trying to tell us something, so we can be healed from them, and we can be comforted in them, and we can be taught by them, and we can God can like I said, comfort us and love on us in the midst of it. So, okay, God bless.